Let's get started, Joel, with the new administration in the United States. And there are various issues, various problems with the foreign policy of the United States and the threats in the eyes of the US and the establishment in the United States that they're facing in Ukraine, in the Middle East, with the case of Taiwan. Before Donald Trump coming to power, he was talking about 24 hours to put an end to the conflict in Ukraine, which it seems that is not possible to achieve that and has not been possible to achieve that. And it seems that after 100 days in office in Washington, he couldn't achieve anything. But somehow they're talking with Russians. How do you see the way that he's somehow managing the situation with the foreign policy of the United States?
Let's go back. Tracking trends is an understanding of where we are, how we got here, to see where we're going. So let's go back to Trump. Oh, this is the guy that Trump to try to overthrow the Maduro government in Venezuela and putting that little clown boy of nothing, Guaido, in there. Oh, that's all forgotten about. Oh, and Europe jumped online with him. Oh, this is the Trump that moved the United States Embassy from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv when he got $100 million from Sheldon Adelson. All right. And he's dead, but his wife gave me another couple of $100 million. So, he's a mouthpiece. He's a guy that we had a whole cover of the Trends Journal about a man of peace or a piece of shit. As he ran for president, he said he was going to be a peace candidate for peace, a peace, a peace, a peace. And what does he do? Bombs away in Yemen, giving Israel more money to keep the genocide going. Hey, I want the Panama Canal. Hey, Greenland, I want your country up there, right? Hey, Canada, you should come to the 51st state. I mean, this he does what he wants to do. And about you said, hey, you elect me, I'm going to end that war in Ukraine in 24 hours. And now that I'm elected, that war's going to end before I get into office. How could people tolerate to swallow the crap that this guy's spewing out? And that little clown Kellogg he said we're going to end that war in 100 days. So it's a freak show. You don't know what they're going to do. And my greatest concern is that they're going to ramp up the Israel war with Iran. And if that happens, you're going to see oil prices, which are now in the toilet because the global economy is down so deeply, will skyrocket. And it'll crash equity markets in the economy. You'll see Brent crude's about selling around $60 a barrel now. It'll be double that price if they go to war against Iran.
Do you, when it comes to Iran, and we know that Mike Waltz recently has been fired by Donald Trump himself, it seems that based on what Washington Post reported, he was pushing to a direct conflict between the United States and Iran. Do you find it as a good sign for the administration that they are not, or they're interested in having a direct war with Iran?
Again, when they announced, we wrote about it in the Trends Journal, when Trump announced they were going to do negotiations with Iran, we said this is a lot of bullshit. Just like he said he was going to have a peace talks with Hamas and then that conflict. And what happens? They're in negotiations, and all of a sudden Trump comes out and says, anybody that buys oil from you, from Iran, we're putting sanctions on you. You can't do business with us. They put 2 sets of sanctions on Iranian oil since he's been in, and other companies in Iran. You're in negotiations, and now you're doing this. The American government of Trump is a Zionist government. Look at the little clown boy, that Huckle Jerk. That's the United States ambassador to Israel. Well, God gave them that land 3,500 years ago. He said to Abraham, hey, save your comic book crap for yourself, all right? Oh, God told Abraham? I got to believe this fairy tale? Hey, got so. What has God got lockjaw? That's the only person he's ever spoken to in 3,500 years ago? Hey, I'm Huckleberry. I'm a little slime ball. I'll tell you what to do. Oh, and by the way, this little clown sells himself as a Baptist or Protestant minister. What Christ do you believe in, fat face? Thou shalt not kill? What Christ are you talking about? You don't believe in Christ. You're satanic with the crap that you're doing over there. They're going to ramp this thing up. They're going to ramp it up. And that's my greatest concern. And now, again, whoop, out of nowhere, India and Pakistan are going at it.
Yeah. In your opinion, what is the main problem that the United States and Iran cannot get along? It's all about Israel. It's all about they need some sort of enemy. Because with the case of the Pacific, we know that if we assume that military-industrial complex is in charge in somehow dominates the foreign policy of the United States, they need some sort of regional enemies to sell arms to other countries, or is something beyond that?
It's beyond. Again, they just, Vietnam just celebrated the end of the 50th year of the Vietnam War. I'm prime draft meat during the Vietnam War. I'm the same age as Trump. Trump got 5 draft deferments, so did Biden. Little fucking warmongering little boys that love war that can't fight their way out of a paper bag. And they don't make a paper bag big enough for Trump to fight out of. Vietnam War. What for? Killed over some 4 million Vietnamese, poisoned the place with Agent Orange. Oh, by the way, now we import. It's our biggest second importer of clothing, shoes, and furniture. And it's still commies. Oh, but that's all right. We're just doing business. I mean, the sickness, I'm mentioning this. And it has been the United States policy of war since World War I. They haven't stopped. Look what there's a book out, a book that was printed by Smedley Butler. It's called War's a Racket. This was the top decorated Marine in U.S. history at the time. Wrote it in the 1930s. How the United States, what they're doing in South America for the fruit companies and what they all over the world, the wars that the United States was doing. It's the mentality of evil people that are in charge. Again, you like the Iraq War? No, I like the longest war in American history, the Afghan War. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive, coming out of the mouth of a little ballless little clown, Georgie Bush, that 90% of the American people swallowed. 90%. 90%. Oh, get that guy Osama bin Laden? You mean the guy that everybody loved, little Jimmy Carter, that gave us Mujahideen, that became Al-Qaeda? That was him. Oh, yeah, we got to beat those Russians that are trying to go into Afghanistan. Oh, that's just old news. We won't talk about that. And that little clown, may rotten hell, Brzezinski, that was the guy that was behind this, the Polish oligarch that came over here. Oh, that guy. Oh, his daughter has that TV show on MSNBC spewing out her crap. All right. It's a freak show, and the freaks are running the show.
Yeah. But we know that how important this particular moment, this administration, and that this is not an ordinary time that we're living. We know that how important how the case of BRICS, the case of Eurasia, what's going on, the outcome of what has happened in Ukraine, what Israel is doing in the Middle East, and with the tariff wars. Do you see that the establishment in the United States is heading somehow, is going bankrupt? How are they gonna reevaluate what they have been doing for such a long time?
No, they're dumb people running the show. I used to work on major political campaigns in Westchester County back in the 1970s, the richest county in America. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. I designed and instructed a course called American Politics and Campaign Technology, how to run political campaigns. I taught it at St. John's University. I have a photo of me when I picked up Ronald Reagan at the Chicago Hilton back in 1976. I was 30 years old, and put on a brunch for 16 of our board of directors with him. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes. I've been on the other side. And I got out of it because it was a freak show. And they're gutless little clowns that are in charge. I hated it. Look, let's take a trip around the world. You got that little Gatson Macron over there in France with a pecker maybe as big as this if he has one at all. An arrogant little freak with his fake hair and his stupid, arrogant attitude. You got an out of his mind Starless Starmer over there in the UK. Look at the jerk they just put in as Chancellor of Germany, Merz. Oh, I came from BlackRock. Oh, yeah, that gang, right? Oh, yeah. Look, one country after another. Oh, Schultz was there before him, another dope of nothing. Go around the world. It's a freak show. The people in politics are the lowest life pieces of scum with the worst attitudes that want you to tell you what to do and how to do it. Look what they did at COVID. Every politician telling you what to do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but with the case of Russia, you've mentioned the case of Russia, and we know that Russia is really seeking some sort of end to the conflict in Ukraine. They want to put an end to the conflict militarily, or politically, whatever that would be. They were prepared for all the solutions. But as time goes by, do you think that we are getting away from a Ukrainian settlement, or we are getting closer to?
No, and I can't see any settlement. I see him ramping up the war. I mentioned that little clown boy Merz that just put in there. Germany is the third largest economy in the world. They've been in recession for 2 years, entering into a third year. That little arrogant jerk over there, we want $1 trillion to build up our military. And we're going to build some infrastructure too with it. We got to stop them Russians before they invade Europe. Oh, this is coming from Germany, Merz? You mean the Germany in Operation Barbarossa in World War II that killed over 25 million Russians? And you're telling me the Russians are going to invade? I'm hearing this out of the Heil Hitler gang's mouth. No outrage. No outrage. And then look what France, UK, Nordic countries, all building up their military. That van der Leyen, another little clown lady of nothing. We got to support more and more for Ukraine. What did they do last week? Oh, bombs away. All the drones striked into Moscow. None of them. Barely a mention in the Western media about it. Barely a mention. I got banned from TikTok. Got banned from TikTok for saying Ukraine is going to ramp up this war. There's going to be a major false flag event. They may bomb a nuclear power plant. They're going to do everything they can to get more support to keep the war going. Banned from TikTok forever. All right? That's where we see it going. Russia, yeah, this is the magazine, the Trends Journal, back in 2014. See how happy that guy is? It's the America's overthrow of the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. Victoria Nuland and McCain handing out candy and stuff in Maiden Square. All the facts are here. The $5 billion the United States gave to NGOs, non-governmental organizations, to overthrow the government. On and on. Facts are right here. People don't know anything about this. Crimea, oh, they had an election. According to the international organizations that monitor elections, it was perfectly legal. And when over 96% of the people said we want to leave Ukraine and go back to Russia. It's only a fact, but we won't talk about that. Russia's not going to give back the land they've conquered in Ukraine. No way, no how. And again, people have no idea of how with the support of the United States, they killed over 15,000 Russian-speaking people in the Donbas region in Ukraine. And that's what escalated the war. But those are only facts. We won't talk about that. Here's the deal. If Trump was president when the Ukraine war broke out on February 24th, 2022, the United States would not have sent all the hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine to keep the war going. I believe that Trump would not have done that.
How, if we assume that the policy right now is not putting an end to the conflict, how the continuation of war would benefit the United States in the eyes of the current administration?
It won't benefit them that much. It's benefiting the military-industrial complex in Europe. Their stocks are going way up. It won't benefit the United States much. He did that mineral deal, but that's more about talk. We write about all the details in the Trends Journal about it. It'll add up to very little. And it's just more Trump talk. I don't see, again, there's no way that Russia is going to give back what they got. No way, no how. And Europe is going to do everything they can to keep escalating this war, as they're doing by the facts. I'm not making it up. The numbers are there. Again, look at the Trends Journal, country after country, writing about it for the last several weeks, ramping up the military. And again, how stupid can you be? How stupid can you be? Spending all this money for what? You go to war with Russia, it's going to be nuclear annihilation, the end of life on Earth. No ships, no planes. It's just a whole different world. It's new millennium warfare. It's a whole different game. And when I talk about it, it's not empty words. My book, Trends 2000, 1996 international bestseller. I talk about new millennium warfare back then. And I was a keynote speaker at Virginia Military Institute talking about new millennium warfare. So these aren't empty words. To waste your money building up your military in Europe as your economies are going down is total ignorance. But ignorant people are running the show. Again, it's a freak show.
And in this game, do you understand what does Europe want? What do European countries want?
It's not what they want, European countries want. It's what the crazy people in charge are. You know, there was a president by the name of Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, supreme commander of the Allied forces, and 2-term president. You could Google this up. He said, any man seeking the office of president in the United States is either an egomaniac or crazy. All right? He didn't. They pushed him into becoming president. He didn't want to run. And either an egomaniac or crazy, and you got an egomaniac right in front of everybody's eyes, Trump. Total narcissistic egomaniac. And I want to run for the 3rd term too, all right? I've only been there less than 100 days, and I said that. I mean, you can't make this crap up.
It seems that we have a new pope, but he's from the United States, by the way, but he's not Donald Trump.
Oh, again, you know, it's, to me, you know, these religions to me are nothing more than an example of a political movement. I started a church, by the way. It's called the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, and Justice. And I have peace rallies. Where are all the religions where they all got lockjaw about peace? How come is this Pope going to go to Gaza and try to stop it? Yeah. There's one of the, the religions to me, again, they're nothing more than fairy tales. And again, believe what you want. I don't tell people what to believe, but I don't want to believe in these either. Like I said, Moses told Abraham, that, no, God told Abraham that this long be. No, stop. I don't want to hear this stuff. God told Abraham 3,500 years ago that this land belongs to the Jewish people. And like I said, God had lockjaw, hasn't spoke to anybody else. I got to believe this fairy tale of yours. How dare you don't believe my fairy tale? Shove it. Who's the new Pope? I didn't see this.
Yeah, the guy named, I don't remember his name, but yeah, he's, by the way, he's from the United States. And the other, Gerald, the other issue, you've mentioned the case of Iran and the conflict between Iran and Israel and what Israel is doing in Gaza.
Oh.
Do you think that Donald Trump, before coming to power, you remember he forced Netanyahu to get along with a ceasefire, which then he just abolished everything. But with the case, we know that recently he has decided to withdraw from Yemen, from the Red Sea. He said that we are getting along, we are having a deal between the United States. Well, this conflict between the United States and Yemen has started when he came to power, and he ended after 2 months, 3 months. And he created this and he solved it. The case of tariff is the same, that he created a new conflict for the foreign policy, for the economy of the United States, and he's trying to do some modifications and solve it. It seems that he's just creating problems in order to solve them and not getting a step forward.
The guy, again, we own the trademark presidential reality show. We took it out when he ran for office back in 2016. He's a reality show champion. The show's just going on. That's all it is. Again, you talk about Yemen says there's no ceasefire agreement. That's what they're saying. And we printed out, just read the whole thing. It was printed in the Tehran Times. And and now Yemen is going to keep ramping up the war against, they said it a dozen times in the article. We will not stop fighting against Israel until they stop slaughtering the people in Gaza. And take a look at United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all the Arab countries that are doing nothing to stop this. Nothing. Trump's going over there. We're going to build more Trump towers. Remember? The sun's over there. It's all about the bottom line. Trump will keep the war going in Israel. They're doing what they want to do. It was all talk, no action in terms of the ceasefire in Israel, which Israel's violated. And yesterday they killed about another 80 Palestinians. Not a mention in the mainstream media about it. Day after day they're killing them. And the same thing with Ukraine. There's no peace deal. It's just more talk. And that's all Trump is. He's a reality show champion. And all he cares about is himself. I had lunch with his brother, Robert, back in 2017 over here in Wasaic, which is the other side of the river over here. And the brother told me that when the father died, he left the family, the Trump and his brothers and sisters, over $500 million worth of real estate. All right? Trump's nothing more than a spoiled daddy's boy with a bad attitude. Born on third base and thought he had a home run.
Yeah. It doesn't seem that for the case of Russia and China, they don't know, even when we talk with Iranians, they don't know how to deal with Donald Trump. Because one day he says something, the other day he just contradicts everything. And do you think that their main focus still is on China, or these two conflicts in the Middle East and in Ukraine is just distracting totally from what's going on economically in the world?
I don't know. Again, look at the India-Pakistan thing that just ramped up. You know, one of my sayings is when all else fails, they take you to war. And that's what I see going on. You know, the Ukraine, he could care less about it, is my belief. What is he going to do with China with a trade deal? You know, they're bragging now they got one with the UK, and markets went back up, gold went back down. Bitcoin's bouncing higher, over 100K as we're speaking. We said this would happen because the crypto club gave him over $100 million for his campaign, plus tens of hundred millions, millions and millions more when he got inaugurated. And they're all in the team. So that's what we look at, you know, and we said this thing's going to keep skyrocketing up, and there it goes. So they're going to do everything they can to make money. And going back to Gaza and Israel, look at Trump, what he said, his son-in-law, we wrote about in the Trends Journal in March of 2024. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, it's very valuable waterfront property in Gaza, and we should move the Palestinians should be moved into the Negev desert. This is where the Jared Kushner, when Netanyahu came to America, he would stay at the Kushner's house. All right? That's how tight Trump is into this thing. It's one big club and you ain't in it, as George Carlin said. It's one team. Trump wants to turn it into the Riviera, right? And now they're talking about throwing them all out with what they call it, this. He came up with a name the other day. Operation Gideon's Chariots. That would be the conquest of the Gaza Strip and the holding of the territories, quote. All right? Stealing more land, killing more people in violation of the Geneva Convention and Article 242 of the United Nations. Oh, by the way, Netanyahu's real name is Milikowski. And these aren't Semites, so don't call me an anti-Semite. They're not Semites that are running Israel. They're all Eastern European Jews. Oh, the Ashkenazi clan, I forgot. Yeah. Ben Gurion, no, Green. It wasn't Ben. They changed their names. There's a lot of crap. Semites are from the Mesopotamia region. So you're not an anti-Semite. Just like I'm not an anti-Italian for hating Mussolini or anti-German for hating Hitler, all right? So save your anti-Semite crap. I hate murderers and thieves. In any country, in any country.
Yeah. Joel, because when we talk about the U.S. foreign policy, we have to remember what has happened between the United States and Canada together with Mexico. And in your opinion, when Russia, China, Iran, all these countries are looking at the way that the United States is treating Mexico and Canada, is that going to be a positive point for the administration?
They'll come make a deal. They'll make a deal with Mexico and China. And, you know, the Mussolini called the merger of state and corporate powers fascism. The corporations run this country. Trump's going to back off and do deals. There's no question about it. So I don't see that being a big issue. They'll make a deal.
Yeah.
These are facts. Trump said when he ran for president, when I get into office, I'm going to put a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, right? Gets into office, I'm going to wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks go by, February 1st, boom, he puts some sanctions on 25%. What, 3 or 4 days later, he took them off. Right? They're going to make a deal. they're not going to, but of course he renamed the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's the Gulf of America. We're going to restate it. It's not the Persian Gulf. You got to call it the Arab Gulf. Now, I mean, this guy's, look at the crap he's spewing out. Greenland's ours. We got to take the Panama Canal. You know, it's like, and again, he sold himself as a peace candidate.
Yeah. Joel, what's so amazing to me is that the way that he's, for example, talking about the conflict in Ukraine. Recently, he had an interview on MSNBC, and he was asked, how does he feel about the conflict in Ukraine? He was just diminishing the conflict to some sort of hatred between Putin and Zelensky, and saying that I got a deal in Ukraine. Europe has frozen Russian assets. I don't have that much of, if they don't want to talk to each other, they don't want to make some sort of solution for the conflict, I'm out of the conflict. I cannot. But if we assume that Donald Trump is the guy in power, is in charge in the United States, with this level of information, with this level of understanding of the conflict, the conflict in Ukraine is so much important. I don't know if you saw the article in the New York Times. It showed how deeply the United States was involved in the war in Ukraine.
Oh, I know. Yeah. That as was happening, and we know that. That's old news. And he's still sending him money. He's still supporting it. Again, Europe is going to ramp up this Ukraine war. There's no question about it. There's going to be a false flag event. Again, look what happened. I mean, and it's going to get more support for Ukraine. Look what they did. There's hardly any news about them bombing, sending all those drones into Moscow, and the things that they've been doing in the last couple of days. Again, I got banned from TikTok for saying that Ukraine is going to ramp up the war, and there may be a strike on a nuclear power plant, or a false flag event that's going to get them more support to ramp up this war. I got banned from TikTok for saying that. Permanently. So they're going to ramp it up. And Europe's going to be the big ramper. Again, Mertz is talking about, they're all a Vandalion, every one of them. So they're going to keep the war going. There's no way that Ukraine is going to give up what they lost. No way, no how.
And my question is how Donald Trump, if he's in charge, how he's going to negotiate with Russia with this level of information.
He's not going to negotiate anything. He's just talk.
So what is he doing with Witkoff?
I'm sorry, what?
What is he doing with Witkoff, and the way that Witkoff is negotiating with Russia?
Witkoff, Jerkoff, Greenberg, Iceberg, what's the difference? It's just talk. That's all it is. And that's what Trump does. It's a reality show. It's a different chapter every day. You're tuning into another. That's all it is. It's nothing more than talk. This is not going anywhere. Again, Ukraine will not give up what they lost. Agree or disagree with them doing it isn't the issue. That's the way we see it. And Europe is 1,000% behind ramping up the war. Listen to Vandalion. Came out the other day. We have to send more military aid and do more to help Ukraine. And again, that's jerk Mertz. One after another, they're going to ramp up the war. Trump and Putin, there's not going to be anything. It's just talk. Russia's not going to give up what they got. Oh, remember, what was that thing that they were saying that the first year the war began, they were going to have that counterinsurgency or something, that big thing, right? Remember that? How they built that up, that Ukraine was going to go in there and they were going to take back what they lost. Oh, out of the news, boop.
Gerald, do you believe that in the near future the ties between Europe and the United States are going to be stronger, or they're going to be weaker than before?
Oh, much weaker, much weaker. This isn't the America I grew up in. Once upon a time, just about everybody from all over the world wanted to come to this country. Now they want to leave. It's not the same place. It's gone down so bad, culturally, morally, spiritually. This isn't the. There was a song I was just listening to by Ray Charles, "America the Beautiful." I mean, this is during a time, of course, of segregation, and he started singing about America the Beautiful. God, spread His light on thee, crown thy hood with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I mean, that was the spirit of this country. It breaks my heart to see what's happened to it. Breaks my culturally, physically. I mean, there used to be a thing called the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus when I was a kid. And now you don't have to step right up, see the fat man, see the tattooed lady, see the lady with the beard. They're out in the street everywhere. You don't have to pay to see it anymore. Take a trip on the roads. They're all rotted. Boom, 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 boom when you drive. Take the subway in New York City. It's the night in Calcutta. Yeah, go to the Telegraph today, the English newspaper, story about Kansas City, how people don't want to go out at night after 9 o'clock at night. And again, COVID changed everything, made bad situations very worse. But nobody talks about that either. So anyway, the whole country's gone down. The only thing that will change it to me is a renaissance to bring back the spirit of what used to be. And these cats don't have it.
Actually, when it comes to the United States domestic policy, which we know how much important it is for the foreign policy, it seems that there is no third option for the people in the United States.
No.
You have to vote Democrat or Republican.
It's like most of the world. Look what just happened in the UK. They brought in Farage. People are tired of the two-party system. It's a crime syndicate. They're murderers and thieves. By the deeds you shall know them. Look what happened when the United States, when we had the crash in 2008. Federal Reserve, according to the Levy Institute at Bard College, dumped in $29 trillion to bail out the banksters that caused it. They're thieves and they're murderers. What's your favorite war? All right? That's what it is. So it's only going to get much worse.
Just to wrap up this session, Gerald, do you see Donald Trump and his administration being in a position even worse than what Joe Biden delivered the government to Donald Trump?
There's some good things I like about Trump. Getting rid of the big government, I'm all for it. Bureaucrats are a bunch of pieces of crap. And there are people who can't get jobs in the real world that become the most arrogant. I agree with his tariff policy, bring jobs back to America. There used to be manufacturing in this country until there's a T-shirt that I did when Bill Clinton ran for office in 1992. Beware of Slick Willie. Sent our manufacturing NAFTA to Mexico for cheap labor and brought China into the World Trade Organization. And so, when manufacturing was here, there were high-paying jobs. Now they're all low-paying jobs. So I agree with that. I totally oppose his Israeli stance, his military. They lied, that little clown boy Hexet that used to play a jerk on Fox. That's our defense secretary now. We're going to cut the military budget by $50 billion. And now they just put it out. It's going to go over to $1 trillion. What are you building the military up for? And Trump telling Europe to keep building up its military. So there's things I like and things I don't like. The Biden administration is totally disgusting. Again, to me, it's a crime syndicate. I haven't voted for a president since Ron Paul, 2012. And people say I voted for a lesser of two evils. How stupid can you be? Evil's evil. There's no such thing as a lesser of. That's like saying almost pregnant.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gerald, for being with us today. Great pleasure
For having me, and thank
to
you for
have
all the
you on.
great work you do. You have great people on. I very much appreciate all you do.